is a Dyson DC41, an upright vacuum cleaner from Dyson that cleans the carpets. The fact that it's a DC41 though isn't really relevant to this video because I want to focus on the floorhead, because this floorhead is pretty disgusting. It needs cleaning out, and I figured we would have a little video to see how to strip this style of head. And we're talking, you know, you can do the DC40 original without the slider on this head, DC40, 41, 75, lots of machines with this floorhead. So we'll have a clean up of the rest of the machine too, but let's have a strip down and mild clean up of the floorhead, something that you should do every once in a while, you know, every year, 2 years, once in its lifetime. Let's have a look. Yes, hello, my vacuum cleaner and minging Dyson fans. How are you today? Yes, this machine, I mean, it came in because the wand was clogged, to be honest, so I unclogged that and, you know, tested it. And it runs, you know, it runs. The brush roll does spin. But all of that dirt under it, all of that dirt under it isn't going to be doing it any good at all. And all of this rubbish on the brush roll is going to be throwing it off balance. And these have a horrible, this one has, look, okay, they have a horrible reputation for destroying the brush rolls when they're in this state. And this end bit here is completely missing. Oh my goodness, do I just not do this at all? Let's see how far we get. So yeah, this is something that you need to keep these clear, because finally a new set of brush rolls is going to set you back 20 quid. I'm hoping that we can save this one. Oh look, it's got a tail as well. Lovely. Yeah, your floorhead doesn't want to be this dirty at all. So we shall open it up and you'll grease it with a load of rubbish. What we need to do initially, I mean, you want to pick all of this fluff out of everywhere you see, because this will be stopping the head, especially this stuff in here, from pivoting. The base plate needs to pivot in order for things to move. If this dirt stays packed up too much, oh, there's a G-string wrapper, how lovely. If this dirt builds up too much, it will push apart the plastic casing and you will have a terrible time. Then, we'll start with the broken end first. It's always the short end. We shall take a crosshead screwdriver and undo the 2 screws that hold the brush roll in. Oh, I'm so nervous. Then, the end cap comes off. Oh, I think it's completely destroyed, but it's quite destroyed. And again, all of the hair is just packed around this bearing to the point where the little Torx head is full of compacted rubbish. Oh, now I've got to dig this out in order to get my Torx driver bit in. And I mean, we can pull this off a bit easier, but yeah, we need to see what carnage is in this end cap, because I think it's possibly bodgeable and possibly savable. So, let's get that bit of string off. Whee! Right, let me get this screw head unclogged. So, inside of this end cap shouldn't look like that. This bit should not be separate. This side of the bearing should not be loose and falling out. But that's not our primary concern. Our primary concern is this part. And look, we find the remains of a paper clip. Then, I'm really hoping that underneath here, the bearing mount is fine. And again, it's just been pushed outwards by all of this crud. Maybe just, this hasn't got to be pretty. This has got to be a bit better than it is now, or I need to go hunting for some spare brush rolls and charge her a bit more. But I think this will be okay, because yeah, that is where the bearing sits, and it did sit fine before, albeit a little bit wobbly. But we're not going for perfection here. We're just going for good enough. So I'm going to now I'll clean this bearing out for a start because it's also full of fluff and debris and crud, which isn't going to help. So I'm going to get this clean and I'm going to try and get it back on the end of this brush roll in a convincing way. It's back on and it rotates a bit better. It should square itself off when it is in. Let's move on to the other side. Now the longer side doesn't usually break itself, but anything is possible with this disgusting head. This head should have been looked at long ago. So we'll lift the end, pull it out, and yeah, this end is fine. We will take it out because underneath, you lift the screw up and you've got to very gently sort of pull it without snapping the end of it. Yeah, there it is. Look, will be packed full of dirt. So now that these are out, we'll come on to that in a minute. Oh, and that. Oh dear. We can go back to picking out lots of bits of fluff and junk and grit and stuff, and yeah, have everything ready to fit back together, really, because that's the main problem when it gets like this. Nothing will fit together. Look, it's all in there. Where it will also be is, yeah, in the front of the base plate, or the back of the base plate, I suppose. It'd be your front. When it is flipped up, you just need to get all of that fluff out, and that will help. Right, now we're going to take the cogs out. So we need to swap our T20, 25, whatever it is, for a much thinner T8 Torx bit. You should have a good selection if you're doing Dysons, because they use many of them, so no point in working out which size is which. Now, that's off. This, oh gosh, will pop out. So this is your brush roll drive cog. And under here, shouldn't be all that fluff. I think it's going to be okay in terms of not needing a complete refurb, although annoyingly, this centre wheel is very fluffed up, and that's going to be a bit more difficult to get at without taking the entire head apart, and I don't particularly want to do that, although it is turning now that I've got, so I might get a knife out in a minute and try and clean that little bit there. But we'll take the other cog off because again, it's going to have a lot of rubbish underneath it, which won't be doing it any good at all. Yeah, look, you see, not as bad, but some. And then that we've done that, we're going to take out just these 3 screws here, which hold the firewall into the head, and then manoeuvre it up and past there, and you can see, oh, one of the other dirt traps on this side of head, and that'll get rid of that bit that's poking out from said dirt trap. And yeah, as this is left, it also just builds up to the point that it pushes everything apart, and you're gonna have a bad time. If it's still so caked on, we've got to do it twice. All under there just blows all the cheap plastic that Dyson use completely apart. So that's there. Yeah, look, all packed up in there, full of it, absolutely full of it. But once it's removed, things should work a lot better. And I might drop a little bit of oil into these bearings. It won't do a lot, but it'll do something. And then when you're a bit more cleaned up, I guess the next thing that you should do while you're in here is clean the clear head. Bit of spray, as long as you don't make it drip into that back box, you'll be absolutely fine. Spread it around. And yes, this is how you can clean the inside of your head. No, you can't do this with the newer Dysons because the brush roll motor runs right down the middle. So yeah, you're limited to doing it on this era only. But yeah, once you've done that, a lot of it's on the outside, we'll give the firewall a quick wipe down. We can start to reassemble it. So manoeuvre that into place. We'll do a bit 3 screws. I'll put the brush roll cogs on and the brush roll back in, and then we'll see if it did any good. Before we go one step further, we're actually going to undo 2 more screws which are buried beneath a plug of fluff. Why? No, wait, the 2 screws. Okay, the 2 screws are missing. There should be 2 screws back there. What on earth? And then you can lift off this. The other 3 screws are what holds the firewall in. because I'm pretty sure that one of the main reasons of these burn out due to old age is because all of the exhaust ports just get full of fluff. This is where, you know, this is still a motor, so there's still air going into it and being pushed out. It's just not really generating suction. It's driving a cog. So now, all of the air can escape, and this motor might just last a bit longer than it otherwise would have. Why are we blowing things about? We've got a perfectly working Dyson here. It'll work well enough for this if I just hold it upright. Yeah. There we go, it can clean up its own filth. And then, at the very least, the motor can breathe. And hopefully it will now last a fair bit longer. Right, I'm going to go put these 3 screws in and find the missing other 2 screws now. And yeah, we shall come back when we're ready to test it out. Can this now convincingly clean up its own mess? Look, you can see the bit that we couldn't clean inside there. Although actually, a lot of that is on the outside, look. Got to wipe that down. There we go, look. Factory out of the box. Right. Does it sound terrible now? No worse than normal, but look how much better. It's clean. All fixed, good enough. I am going to mention the fact that the brush roll is pretty scrap, and look, when it explodes let me know, but for now it will do. I mean, even the filter's not the worst I've seen. I think we're going to sort of leave that there, and we shall do things like wipe this top seal down, because that will stop any air leaks. We'll give the top of the thing a quick wipe, and it can go back because I'm not charging too much. You only wanted it quickly unclogged. I've noticed that that brush roll would have literally exploded within the year if we hadn't have done that little bit. And yeah, look, we can give all of up here a bit of a wipe down, and our Dyson looks a lot better. Let's just check this filter. And I did have a wash pre-filter, but I don't think it's worth it. Yeah, that's fine. Again, though, you can give this bit a little bit of a wipe down, and that's all you need to do. So, has that helped you with your Dyson upright vacuum? Again, don't let it get this bad. If you do that once a year, you'll just be picking a few little bits of fluff out, giving it a clean out, and not having to do anything else. And it will last forever until the motor burns out with old age. But then you can replace that, because we have a video for that as well. So, is that the worst head you've ever seen? I'm going to say it's not the worst head I've ever seen, and I can pretty much guarantee it's not going to be the worst head many of you have ever seen either. But I hope this helps. We have prolonged the agony of another Dyson upright, and I'm happy with that. So, until the next disaster... No, off now, you're done. Until the next disastrous Dyson that just needed 10 minutes worth of maintenance 4 years ago, but not this one, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.